Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Nama saya Gita Marina Ahadianti dari Departemen Teknik Perkapalan Institut Teknologi 10 November. Pada kesempatan ini, saya akan memberikan pernyataan diri dosen dalam unjuk kerja Tridharma Perguruan Tinggi PDD UKTPT pada bidang pengajaran. Pada kesempatan ini, saya akan memberikan pemaparan mengenai mata kuliah yang saya ampu, yaitu Kapal Khusus dengan kode MN 184941. Mata kuliah ini terdiri dari 3 SKS yang berada pada semester 5 pada program studi Teknik Perkapalan. Kemudian dosen pengampu saya sendiri, Gita Marina, bersama dengan Pak Ahmad Nasiruddin. Deskripsi singkat mengenai mata kuliah ini mencakup mengenai gambaran tentang perkembangan terkini atau inovasi dalam desain kapal dan jenis-jenis kapal yang lain beserta regulasinya, antara lain car and passenger liners, fishing vessels, dredgers, tugboats, FPSO vessels, tankers, LPG atau LNG carriers, chemical tankers, bulk carriers, timber carriers, survey and research vessels, patrol vessels, floating dock, dan sebagainya. Berikutnya mengenai capaian pembelajaran. Mahasiswa mampu menerapkan prinsip rekayasa perkapalan untuk menyelesaikan masalah rekayasa kompleks di bidang desain dan pembangunan kapal atau bangunan apung lainnya serta bersikap tegas dalam pengambilan keputusan. Mahasiswa mampu mendesain kapal atau bangunan apung lainnya berbasis teknologi informasi dan komputasi yang sesuai dengan persyaratan teknis dan regulasi. Mahasiswa menguasai konsep teoritis dalam bidang konstruksi dan kekuatan kapal, hidrodinamika kapal, desain, pembangunan, dan perawatan kapal atau bangunan apung lainnya. Mahasiswa menguasai pengetahuan tentang perkembangan teknologi terbaru dan terkini dalam bidang teknik perkapalan. Berikutnya mengenai capaian mata kuliah. Mahasiswa mampu menjelaskan inovasi-inovasi dalam merancang kapal. Mahasiswa mampu menjelaskan karakteristik berbagai jenis kapal. Yang terakhir, mahasiswa mampu menjelaskan aspek khusus pada berbagai jenis kapal beserta regulasinya. Kemudian bagaimana sistem pembelajaran yang ada pada mata kuliah ini? Perkuliahan ini bisa dilakukan secara online maupun offline. Kemudian pada kuliah secara online bisa dilakukan dengan sinkronus maupun asinkronus. Sinkronus bisa melalui Zoom ataupun Microsoft Teams, asinkronus dapat melalui My ITS Classroom. Lalu dalam perkuliahan ini juga terdapat tugas-tugas yang berupa presentasi dan laporan, atau mahasiswa membuat poster atau video dan melakukan diskusi baik secara online maupun offline. Berikutnya tentunya juga dilakukan evaluasi yang dapat berupa kuis, kemudian ada evaluasi tengah semester, dan ada evaluasi akhir semester. Bagaimana interaksi antara dosen dan mahasiswa? Ini bisa dilakukan secara interaktif pada waktu kelas secara offline maupun online. Kita melakukan diskusi bersama, melakukan tanya jawab, melakukan diskusi antara dosen dan mahasiswa, kemudian antar mahasiswa juga dapat berdiskusi mengenai studi kasus yang sudah kami siapkan sebelumnya, sehingga mahasiswa bisa berpikir lebih kreatif, kemudian menyampaikan ide-idenya, memberikan tanggapan, ataupun solusi terhadap suatu masalah. Kemudian secara offline, mahasiswa juga bisa bertemu langsung dengan saya di ruangan saya atau di coworking space. Departemen Teknik Perkapalan memiliki coworking space yang dapat digunakan sebagai diskusi antar mahasiswa atau diskusi antara dosen dengan mahasiswa. Kemudian karena pandemi, diskusi juga bisa dilakukan melalui video meeting, dapat menggunakan Zoom ataupun Microsoft Teams. Mahasiswa juga dapat menghubungi saya melalui email ataupun WhatsApp jika ada pertanyaan mengenai materi perkuliahan yang kurang jelas, atau mengenai tugas yang belum jelas, atau misalnya ada perubahan jadwal kelas, dan sebagainya. Lalu mengenai evaluasi atau penilaian evaluasi pada mata kuliah ini terdapat beberapa kriteria, yaitu yang pertama tugas individu dengan bobot sebesar 25%. Tugas individu dapat berupa laporan mengenai studi kasus maupun rangkuman dari kuliah hari tersebut. Lalu ada tugas kelompok dengan bobot sebesar 25%. Tugas kelompok dapat berupa makalah mengenai jenis kapal tertentu maupun presentasi tim. Bentuk asesmen atau penilaian berupa format dan substansi makalah, penilaian terhadap slide dan presenter, maupun kemampuan dalam diskusi dan tanya jawab. Lalu evaluasi tengah semester dan evaluasi akhir semester masing-masing berbobot 25%, sehingga semuanya berjumlah 100%. Tujuan dari penilaian ini agar mahasiswa bisa mengetahui seberapa jauh mereka belajar dan bagaimana kelas ini berlangsung. Tujuannya diharapkan mahasiswa mampu belajar mandiri maupun dapat bekerja sama dalam tim. Tugas ini ada yang berupa presentasi, juga diharapkan dapat melatih kemampuan presentasi dan berbicara mahasiswa di depan audiens. Untuk mengenai RPS dari mata kuliah kapal khusus bisa dilihat di kolom deskripsi di bawah. Begitu juga dengan video full pembelajaran, saya sertakan linknya di bawah deskripsi. Berikut saya akan memperlihatkan video mengenai pembelajaran di kelas secara online. Ini saya share screen. Apa kelihatan? Screen saya kelihatan?
Yes,
Okay.
clear.
Okay, thank you guys. Good morning. Good morning all. Thank you for coming to today's lecture. So today we're going to talk about other types of special ships, which is bulk carriers. So this week we're going to talk about bulk carriers, and we're going to talk about her unique characteristic and her potential problems that she may possess. So without further ado, let's start. So SOLAS gives the definition of bulk carriers as a ship which is constructed generally with single deck, topside tanks, upperside tanks in cargo spaces, and it is intended primarily to carry dry cargo in bulk, and it includes such types as ore carriers or combination carriers. Whereas common structure rules also defines bulk carriers as seagoing self-propelled ships, which are generally constructed with single deck, double bottom, upperside tanks, topside tanks, and with single or double side skin construction in the cargo length area are intended primarily to carry dry cargoes in bulk. So you can see here at the bottom of the slide, it is the typical transfer section in a way of a cargo hold. And the very bottom slide, it is the typical longitudinal section in a way of cargo hold. So these are the classification of bulker size. So bulk carrier size categories are divided according to their dead weight. The small size is called small bulk carrier, and then an upper size is called handy size, and then another upper size is called handy max, and then we have panamax, and then cat size, and the largest one is called VLBC, which stands for very large bulk carrier. So let's move on to one of the types of the bulk carriers, which is ore carriers. So as the name implies, the cargo of this type of bulkers is ore. So you can see there's chrome, there's iron, there's manganese, there is bauxite, and so on. And on the left side of the slide, I put their specific volumes, and then on the right side of the slides, I showed the comparison with the general cargo specific volume. So if you can compare the two, you can see that the specific volume of the ore carriers are relatively small with compared to general cargo, and this could lead to some problems. So the problem is that if the specific volume is small, and then the center of gravity becomes lower. So that's why this will result in the high values of GM. So how to prevent high GM values is that, so the first top two design is topside tank and upperside tank. So these are the two unique characteristics that I mentioned before, the definition that given by SOLAS and common structure rules. These are the topside tank and the upperside tanks. And then the third solution, we could raise the double bottom. So raising the double bottoms will provide more ballast capacity and raise the center of the gravity of the ore to prevent ships being too stiff in a seaway. And then another alternative, we could also install wing tank. So wing tanks can be used for ballast when the ship is empty of cargo. And then the last one, we could introduce the scheme called alternate hold loading conditions. I will explain it one by one in the next slide. So how to prevent the GM values is that this is the picture, the illustration of a typical section of a bulk carriers. So this is called topside tanks, and then this bottom here is called hopper side tanks, and these two are designed in this way in order to prevent cargo from shifting, and then to facilitate loading, and then the holds to be self-trimming. And then another thing is to raise the cargo, the double bottom. So like I mentioned before, raising the double bottoms will provide more ballast capacity and raise the center of the gravity of the ore to prevent the ship being too stiff in a seaway. So this is the illustration of wing tank in bulk carriers. So one of the most common typical of bulk carriers is ore oil carrier. As the name implies, ore oil carries both ore and oil. So instead of carry just ore on the return voyage, it can carry oil instead of ballast. So it is very beneficial, but because of it carries oil, the bulkhead and the hatches must be oil tight, obviously. So, and also one thing, the ore and oil are not carried simultaneously because there's a risk of the oil or vapor could penetrate a space containing an ignition source. And the last one is the alternate hold loading conditions. So this is the illustration of the alternate holding loading conditions. So we specify specific cargo hold to be empty, so not to be filled with any payload or any cargo. This is in order to improve the GM values. But however, this scheme or these loading conditions will lead to one of the downsides is that the ship will have poor longitudinal strength. Okay, so now let's move on to another type of bulk carriers, which is grain carriers. So as the name implies, this type of bulk carriers carry grain such as wheat, and then maize, and then this is rye, and then oats, etc. And this is I also put their specific volumes in order for comparison. So like the ore carriers, grain carriers also have some potential problems due to the nature of the payload, which is the first one is that the grain settles of its volume. What does this mean is that when the grain is loaded, there tends to be errors between individual grains. As you can see, the picture on the left here, the cargo becomes fully loaded, right? But during the voyage, the grain settles by occupying the space taken by air. This is called shrinkage. So the cargo will shrink and then will reduce, and then this will leaves a free surface below the hatches, and the motion of the vessel can shift to one side from another side. And then this is very dangerous because the center of the gravity moves and the vessel heels to one side and even can capsize. So this is the illustration of the cargo shifting from one side to another side. So as you can see, the free-falling characteristic of the grain reduces the stability of any ship carrying it. Rolling can also shifting of cargo from one side to other side and reduce their positive stability, resulting the vessels could capsize. So how to prevent this type of hazard of the grain? The first is that we could install this called longitudinal divisions or shifting boards. So this must be grain tight, obviously, and then it can be fitted in both field and partly filled compartments. So the filled compartments is illustrated on the right side of the slide, and then the partly filled is illustrated on the left side of the slide. In the filled compartments, they must extend downwards from the underside of the deck or hatch covers to a distance below the deck line of at least 1/8 of the breadth of the compartment, or at least 0.6 meters below the surface of the grain after it has been assumed to shift through an angle of 15 degrees. Whereas in the partly filled compartment, the division should extend both above and below the grain of level, the level of the grain, so to a distance of 1/8 of the breadth of the compartment. And then another solution that we could imply in order to prevent the hazard of the grain carriers, the grain payload, is that by having stowing arrangement. Stowing arrangement is that we put grains into a bag, and then we put it on top of this bulk grain in order to prevent from shifting from one side to other side. So this is because of there's a lot of what is it called, dangers caused by the nature of the payload of the cargo. There's this IMO has carried out a very intensive research in order to prevent such accidents to be happening again. And then okay, instead of this, I will show you. I will stop sharing, and then I will show you a video of a very famous accident of the bulk carriers. And you can see. Can you see the screen of the video?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. All right. So the time from the first cargo hold broken, and then the sinking of the ship is only 2 minutes. That is very fast. That is a very fast sinking of the ship. So that is one of the really dangerous hazards that the bulk carriers could possess. Now, are you seeing my PowerPoint screen again?
Yes.
Okay, so this is basically the illustration of the video that we just saw. So the water enters the hold number 1, and then after hold number 1 is broken, and then water also enters cargo hold number 2, and then after that, it's just the ship just sink really rapidly. So that's why IMO and other regulations are trying to strengthen the regulations by enhancing survey, and then strengthen the cargo, and then strengthen the structure of the bulk carriers, and then they also imply or install the alarm or sensors in order to monitor the equipment so that the hull stress that cause hull fractures, like the video, could be minimized. So we come to the summary of today's lecture. So these are the unique characteristic of this special type of bulkers, which is single deck, and then it has topside and hopper side tanks, and then the engine room is located at the stern of the ship, and then particularly designed for cargo in bulk, dry cargo in bulk especially. And then there's no appendages such pillars, web frames, etc. And then we also introduce a cargo orientation where some of the cargo hold to be empty, not to be filled with any hold in order to improve their stability. So I think that is all for today's lecture. Is there any question? I will stop share my screen. Ika, you raise your hands, but you are muted.
Am I unmuted?
Okay, yes, I can hear your voice.
I have a question. So why is the design of bulkers construction single deck?
Right. So let me share screen again. Okay, so that is a very good questions. This is the reminder. I mean, this is this summary of the today's lecture. The characteristic of the bulkers is it is single deck, and this is also defines in the definitions that are given by SOLAS and common structure rules. So why the bulkers are usually single decks? Because as you can see, the nature of the payload is mounted up like this. So, and it is very hard to control. Okay, so yeah, this is the typical transfer section. You can see the load is always mounted up like this, and this, as I mentioned before, it could poses very dangerous hazards. So, if the decks are not single, then the deck below the lowest deck could possess a really dangerous hazards because of the mounted up of the load above it. So that's why single deck is the most common for this type of bulk carriers in order to prevent the damage of a similar load on the upper deck. Okay. Okay, thank you. Is there any more questions?
Me, mom, I have question.
Okay. Are you okay? Is there any? Yeah. What is your question?
Yeah, okay. Thank you. I have a question. Why in bulkers there's no appendages such as pillars or web frames?
Oh, right. That is also a very good question. Yeah, as you can see, maybe yeah, this is the typical transfer section. So usually there's no web frames or pillars in bulkers. Actually, this is very good questions, and this will be addressed on the next session. Where we will discuss about loading and unloading. But it's okay. I'll just answer it very briefly here, because in cargo hold, this typical transfer section is in this. It is designed in order to ease the loading and unloading. So you already know by the time of this lecture is that the nature of the bulk carriers is the payload are in bulk. So the cargo are in bulk. So it's very, very hard to loading and unloading if there are such appendages such as web frames or pillars in the middle of the cargo hold, right? So we are eliminating that kind of appendages in order to ease the loading and unloading. So that's very good questions, and that will be addressed on the next session, on next week lectures. Okay, but good questions, Ayu. Is there any more questions?
Thank you, mom.
Okay, so if there's no more questions, this is the assignment for you. So you have to find the news about bulk carriers accident from the internet or newspaper or any kind of source and write a report about it. So your report must include the reason why the accident happened, and you must provide the solution in order to prevent the same accident happen in the future. And the assignment should be submitted through my email. This is my email at kita@na@its.ac.id. So you don't have to print it. You could submit it to my email, and the deadline is 1 week. So next week, by the time we have the lecture, you have already submitted. Is there any questions about the assignment? Is it clear?
Mom, I have a
Miss?
question.
Okay, Nicholas.
Oh, yes, Miss. Is there any limitation with regards to the years of the accidents?
The years of accidents.
Yes.
Oh, right. Yes. So thank you for thanks. So the accidents must happen in the recent at least 10 years from now. So not more than that. I know the video that I showed you is a very old accident that happens in the 1980 or 90 something, but that is just for the sake of purpose to show the historical of why the bulk carriers are designed that way. But for this assignment, because we have to keep up, with the update with the news, I expect you to have the assignment at the accidents not more than 10 years. So in the last 10 years, okay?
Okay, thank you.
Okay, is that clear? Is there any more questions?
I have one question, Mom.
Yes, Ayu?
Is there any minimum requirement for the pages of the assignment, or any such as template for the structure of the assignment?
Yes, so this is I will leave it up to you guys, because from this assignment I will judge your how good you describe the reasons why the accident happened, and how well you describe the solution that you could think of. So I will leave it up to you, but I expect the format of the report must written in English, of course, and then it has to have a very formal language such as report. Okay, so
Okay, thank you, Mom.
there's no limited pages, minimum pages or whatsoever. So I'll leave it up to you, because that will be my my assignment also, because I will judge you by how well you describe the event of the accidents.
Okay,
Okay,
clear.
is
Thank you,
there?
Mom.
Okay, thank you. Is there any more questions? Okay, so if there's no more questions, so I would like to thank you guys for attending today's lecture, and please take good care of your health, because I think this is cold season, and every person in my WhatsApp group, whether it is like work group or my friends, all of them are getting sick because of the cold and having cough. So and COVID maybe almost over, but please still wearing your mask, and please take care of your good health. I'll see you next week. Okay. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Waalaikumsalam.
Waalaikumsalam. Thank you, Mom.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Ma'am.
Demikian akhir dari presentasi mengenai deskripsi pernyataan diri dosen dalam unjuk kerja Tridharma Perguruan Tinggi PDD UKT-PT pada bidang pengajaran. Saya berharap dengan rencana pembelajaran yang sudah direncanakan sebelumnya, mata kuliah ini bisa berjalan dengan baik, sehingga mahasiswa dapat memenuhi capaian yang diharapkan, serta mahasiswa dapat menambah soft skill maupun hard skill. Dan terakhir, saya harap video ini dapat bermanfaat bagi yang menonton, dan mempunyai andil dalam rangka mewujudkan visi ITS untuk menjadi world class university dan Indonesia sebagai poros maritim dunia, untuk mendidik para pemimpin yang unggul di bidang sains dan teknologi, sehingga dapat mengangkat Republik Indonesia menjadi negara berperadaban maju dan tinggi. Sekian, terima kasih. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.